Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Asperger Studios. After 30 years at the forefront of conversational AI, today's guest didn't just change companies, he changed purpose. Motivated by his own kids, he now is on a mission to help children, including neurodivergent kids, form a healthier, more creative relationship with technology. So sit back, relax, and grab your favorite beverage, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the show. See you there, everybody.
I wanna believe in the truth, but only see what I'm shown. Got the freedom to choose, but can't decide on my own. Follow what the group is thinking, bottle up my intuition till it's popping up.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Connection, formerly known as Inside the Asperger Studios. Today I'm joined with Robert Locascio. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Hey Reed, thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So before we get into everything, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I guess my claim to fame is I invented web chat back in 1997. So if you ever chatted on a website, I invented this technology, and then ended up building a company called Live Person over 28 years, and we ended up actually becoming the leader in conversational AI around contact centers. And if you ever chatted at a contact center or messaged or even used an AI for voice and talking to an AI, that was my company's technology. And so I built that up. It was a multi-billion-dollar company and 3,000 employees. And then I decided to leave it all. I decided 3 years ago that there was something else I wanted to pursue in the AI space. Actually, two companies, and I had a vision of AI that's a little bit different than the vision that's out there today. And I felt like I should take my abilities and knowledge and resources and put it towards building these new companies.
Alrighty, so I mean, that's funny you mentioned that. I mean, a lot of people don't realize it when you log into a site and it goes live chat available. That's you.
Yeah, I invented that technology. Yeah, it's hard to think it didn't exist because it's so prolific. But in 1997, they were just websites, phone numbers, and email addresses. And I was thinking, I was building websites at the time, and we had some customers, and people would want to talk to them, and I'm like, why can't you talk to somebody at the point of purchase? A lot of times you would, because they were dial-up modems back then, you would hang up, get on a call, and I'm like, you lose the reason there's a website to do e-commerce. So yeah, it's obviously pervasive, and it's kind of it's got some, and it became a foundation for AI, which I think is quite interesting.
I mean, people don't realize that little we have chat is so formidable in today's day and age because say you have a question with about a product. You don't want to have to call or you want to talk to a service provider in AT&T and you want to find out something. You don't want to have to call them and wait in line for hours. You can sit there and go, "Hey, wait a minute. I got a question. I need to talk to a service provider."
Yeah, and the interesting thing what I learned from it was, and it kind of gave me my basis for my thinking around AI, was that this human conversation that obviously we had when we first started was a human talking to a human, and then
Mhm.
eventually it became a machine
Yeah, the
talking
AI
to
bots that
AI
right.
bots. They weren't large language models, but they were machine learning uh, AI bots. And so we basically, I could see in the data set was quite powerful, which was that this connection. And I've said this for all my life. This connection between humans allows humans to have trust. It's always really funny because most of the questions that are being asked by people at contact centers are information that's available already in some automated fashion on a mobile app or website, but they still feel compelled to ask a human for the advice. And
Mhm.
it goes down to trust. It goes down to I communicate a certain way and you're listening to me and communicating back. I as a human somehow feel like I trust what's going on here. And that's why people still use humans to sell. And now obviously large language models do a pretty good job on almost replicating that natural they're trying to get this. What I do with one of my companies called URAI is how do we really make an AI feel very human, and that's all the ultimate goal.
Now, you spent nearly 3 decades building this extraordinary at-live person, inventing web chat, scaling of hundreds of millions of revenue. When you look back on that chapter, what feels most defining about it? Not the numbers, but the human part.
I mean, the most interesting thing about it was, I mean, there's so many things, but the I spent so much of my life inside of these contact centers meeting with people who chatted and who were supporting the customer, and there was such a passion by these people to they had the best ones had a certain personality, and once again it goes back to when a technology platform can take the human and transfer to that connection to another human. And that's why one of our core values at Live Person was meaningful connections and create meaningful connections, because I felt like that's ultimately what a product should do. Like the highest form of a company should be you create connection and community. And so I was never able to answer the question, did Live Person create better community in the world? But I definitely was delivering better connection between people, and which basically informed me about what I want to build in the future. I want to be able to answer that question about community. I want to be able to answer the question like, does this company create better community in the world? Because I think every company should have that as its ideal.
Right. No, I mean, was there a moment where you just realized this success is real, but something is missing?
Yeah, for many years, because we were B2B, so I was selling to big companies, the biggest companies in the world. Like we had the 400 largest companies in the world were our customers, the biggest banks, telcos, healthcare companies. And I, I actually towards the end I got into AI healthcare. I bought a precision medicine company. I tried to build a bank called Buddy Bank. I mean, not, I'm sorry, Buddy Bank was the guy who we bought his company, but I built a bank called Bella, and actually this is one of our sponsors. It feels good to do good, and part of the bank was that people could send microtransactions to each other just for making you feel good. And I guess I was trying to really harness the power of AI through consumer experiences, banking and healthcare, but they were in a B2B container, which had, hundreds of millions in revenue. So I guess I really felt like I was never going to be able to transfer that company, transform it easily to where I thought the big value would be in the world. And that kind of compelled me and a few other things to, even after 28 years of building something from zero, I
Mhm.
put my heart and soul into it. There were some things that were given to me, whether you say by God or by higher power, but were telling me it's time to go and continue on with your destiny and stop with that. That was a foundational thing for me, but not my future.
Now, how did that level of responsibility shape you as a parent, though?
It's really fascinating because I have three kids, 9, 7, and
Mhm.
4, and it's one thing to see children engage with technology from afar when you're seeing them on a mobile device in a
Right.
restaurant and you make comments about it. But when you have children and you see them engaging with technology firsthand, you see it's horrible. It's not even borderline good. It's the majority of the engagement that they're doing is harmful. And I don't need to read a book like Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation, and all the other stuff that's been studied about YouTube Kids, Roblox, whatever. You see it firsthand. I have three kids, and the way they act, the way they're being influenced, the value set that they're being given is just not appropriate for my
Mhm.
kids and for most kids. So that's what I could see, which drove me to really want to make a change there.
I mean, what people don't realize is that kids today have become so attached to technology. I mean, there's that cartoon of a family sitting at a dinner table, and they're all on their phone talking to each other instead of talking to each other.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something really powerful is that the influences of today's influencers on the kids, we don't know who they're watching and how to judge them. We need safe technology, safe things for our kids.
Yeah, I mean, I look, my children are going to be the AI generation. They're growing
Yeah.
up with this stuff, but the problem is like the foundation of it all is broken. Like, and AI is just going to be a continuation of that, and that's going to make parents. I mean, we see, I have this company called Kid. I built a device with it's got AI experiences with the characters, and you can make movies and music and imagery. And the reason I did a device is because I didn't want to, like, every time you give your kid a phone and you say use something good, they go to something bad. It's like they're
Yeah.
they're they're addicts. They're addicted to the bad stuff. Where I wanted to give them something that they could own, they could hold, it's theirs, and it's a safe space, but a cool space. Like they can be their best creators. They can create images. They can create things out of their imaginations. So I just feel that the current path we're on it's harmful, and AI, which should be a wonderful thing, is already so questionable by parents because they've been so beaten up by the old stuff, by
Mm.
YouTube and YouTube Kids and everything that they just have a lot of doubts, you know.
Now you walked away from the role of CEO, especially after building something that big. It goes against what we were taught about success. What was the first quiet signal that told you it was time to step away?
It's interesting. I guess, my wife probably knew better than I did, as in I wasn't very happy for a long time because I don't think it was, I'd built something and it became fairly repetitive. Running a public company, which I used to find I was very thankful for that, and I had a lot of pride in it.
Hmm.
It became not that much fun anymore, because the shareholders are very different than they were when I went public. Just a different type. And then COVID did it for me. Like we all went home and nobody wanted to come back. And the whole company's basic core value was create meaningful connections, and nobody wanted to come back. And people complaining, and there's so much bad stuff where if you're trying to run a company. I mean, I like my first employee I ever hired, this guy Mike Colosso, is the godfather to my youngest son. Okay, that's what business meant to me. Like I have friends that I'm friends with 20 years later, but it's not that anymore. It became like I don't know what it is. It's like a trade. So I just felt like there's enough there, and my wife was like telling me, like you're not really happy anymore. And there were some things that happened we had an activist shareholder come in, and we gave them board seats. And then it became really almost unworkable. And the company since that time has been, unfortunately, uh, hobbled. It's kind of lost its world.
Hmm.
But anyway, it was time for me to find a new home, a new path, and I took that seriously, and I thought about a few things, and I came to California with my family to start these new companies.
Now, did you wrestle with any kind of guilt or fear around that decision?
It's a loss. I mean, we're human beings, and if you built something for 28 years, and I look at like it's building these companies I'm building today, the energy you have to put into them is extraordinary. And what I had to put into live person in those first couple of years, then get it public, then we survived the .com. I had to like let a bunch of people go. Like we were one of the few survivors, and all the things in between that you really put your heart and soul in it, and it becomes like an appendage to your body. And so when you go to remove an appendage, there's a loss that you're going to experience. And through that loss, I've talked about this before. I used to have a podcast called Over the Wall, and I used to talk about being an entrepreneur. And through that loss, you learn. Through that loss, there's something being told to you. And when you clear out your past and you get some space to think, it's amazing what pops in your head. A lot of cool things will
Oh
pop in
yeah.
your head. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's much guilt and stuff. It was more of the loss of something that you built. It's like but it is, that's what you feel.
Now, how did your kids factor into that moment emotionally, not strategically?
Unfortunately, my children had to go through like a year's worth of pain, a little bit of me with this activist and the board of directors, and it was a real mess. And they went through, I thought what was going on was an existential threat to the company, which if you look 3 years later, it was an existential threat. The revenues are half of what they were 3 years ago. And that's what I felt. I knew the company well enough and whatever, my kids had to live through that with me. On the other side, they've lived through me starting new businesses and coming to California and seeing a whole another thing. So I just think, you know, I heard somewhere, children learn through watching their parents and not just telling them things. And so I think, I want to give my kids a lesson that no matter what happens in life or what changes happen in life, you have to continue forth. You know.
Now, you mentioned that watching your kids interact with technology changed everything for you. What did you notice that most adults weren't seeing yet?
I had this experience where my middle son, he was 4 years old at the time. It was like it was the middle of the night, and I heard, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I heard some sounds downstairs, and I went down. There he is on the iPad watching YouTube and having no idea where he was. He didn't know if he was awake or asleep. He didn't know what he was watching, but he was just doing that. And I like I was like, that's what an addict looks like.
Hmm.
Like they're like an addict is gonna wake up and not really know what they're doing, and it's controlling them. That's what I look like. The technology was controlling him. So I took an interest in looking inside the machine. Most parents you kind of see from afar, like, oh, they're looking at a cartoon. Oh wow, it's a cartoon. Oh no. If you really want to take time and go do the scroll with them, the stuff that it if there's two cartoon characters and one takes out a gun and blows the head off of the other one and they laugh, that's funny. If a character hits another character with a baseball bat in the head and they laugh, it's kind of funny to a kid. It's a joke. But it's not. It's
No,
violent. It's violence. And
yeah,
and they say the F word a lot. That like my little one says the F word, and he says, I mean, the things that come out of his mouth because he was watching this stuff, and they say it. Oh, that's effing funny. And they always say that's effing, and they make a joke around the F word, and then kids think that's funny to say that because they're laughing hysterically. So
mhm,
I that's what it is. They allowed. I heard what happened was post COVID, they just opened up the engine and made it a free for all, and we're like, anyone. They just want viewers, and the kids are
mhm.
stuck at home, and we don't have enough content, so they just opened it up to garbage, and that garbage is just continued to poison our children.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, the problem is one, there's doom scrolling where you just get stuck sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. And the other is you're right. The pro the creators don't think about the viewers at all. All they think about is who's watching it in the numbers because they don't think about, oh, this is going to affect younger children. And they don't realize that younger children don't have the same consciousness as adults do of, oh, this really isn't funny. This is violent. I mean, when you were younger, we watched cartoons like Bugs Bunny and
Yeah.
Daffy Duck, where you remember the one scene where they're with Elmer Fudd and the shotgun. He's like, shoot him, shoot him, bang! And he shoots them. To a kid, that's funny. But as you get older and you rewatch it, it's like, is that really funny?
It's not funny. It's like and that's tame. I mean, the road runner blowing up. Like
Yeah,
these are funny things that are not even close to the violence and
yeah.
the yeah. Those are so tame. Those won't even engage a kid anymore. They're so
No.
boring. So you're right. They're not funny. And I think these people that create this content, I don't think they have kids. They're just creators, just trying to make a buck, and they don't care about our children. So what's happened is parents are very aware, but there's no real solution. So like it's not downloading some app or doing it's like so that's why I felt like let's create something we can put in the hands of families where kids could really engage with these engage with like and we're seeing we just launched during Christmas and we see a lot of kids like to talk to these we have characters on our platform. So we have like this we have like this is our this is the most popular one is Pip the Penguin. And so like you can talk to Pip and people like to form these kind of relate so you can see how
Yeah.
Okay, let's explore your.
hey Pip, I'm here with Reed doing a podcast and we're really having a fun time. So what we're seeing is that they really create
That sounds awesome, yeah. Podcasts are such a cool way to share stories. Are you and Reed talking about something exciting?
so kids really like it and we're starting to learn a lot over the last just couple of weeks about these characters and a friendship with them and you know it's quite and these characters are all this is for 4 to 12 year olds. This is a model that's only made for children. There's not some weird thing like you see on Character AI or ChatGPT. These are just for children and they're forming these like companions with them, you know,
Yeah.
and it's a rough life as a child. You know how it is as a kid.
Yeah.
Like we get made fun of all the time
Hmm.
as kids. It's terrible, you know. But now you
It
have this little buddy who can help you out.
yeah. It kind of reminds me of, oh God, do you remember the robots that used to help out that you'd see it advertised all the time back in the day that kids can talk to it and it would react and it say, "Do you want me to tell you a story?"
Yes,
It
yeah,
reminds me of that.
yeah. And that's really where I like I said we've got everything. We can make an image, talk to buddies, make stories, listen to stories where you can talk to buddies. There's tutors in there. There's all a bunch of stuff. And the the one that gets the it's these characters are getting a lot of play. So I think it's quite interesting. I was, you know, we're looking at how do we make like they want memory. We had short-term memory, but not long-term. So now the kids said we want our characters to remember us over, you know, the entirety of our engagement with them. So we're adding memory. We're adding a lot of things. We'll have the characters so they can create with you and do things. These are things we're adding in. So there's a lot going on right now around the characters. That's what I see as exciting, and they're safe and they're. You know, I was just thinking about like it's just you know as a kid you're like the character will never bully you. Our characters won't bully you. A character won't make fun of you. These characters won't you know do bad things with you. And so there's safe space for a kid versus you know the world's pretty hostile for children. You know.
I mean, that's such a true thing. I mean, in today's age, we need kids need stuff to grow up with, to bond with, even if it is artificial intelligence, but it's there to make them feel good.
Yeah. That
And with more and more kids being found out they have ADHD and everything else, this is perfect because it's something that's there. They see it and they're reacting with it over time. It becomes like this friend.
That's it. And that's why I'm like I've talked to a handful of families over the last week or so just to hear them out. What do they like? It's interesting because there are a number of kids in the customer base who have you know ADHD and other things. There's one kid, our top user is a kid who has a genetic mutation, and he can actually hurt himself. Like that's part of this thing, and he's like one of our top people, and he's using it, and he's talking to the characters, and I want to see over the next couple of weeks, like what is because I've talked to his dad. Like let's like I wonder how it's going to impact his life. It seems very positive. His dad, I talked to his dad so far, but they're you know they're working it out. Like we're all observing it. It's just very I'm very curious about all that. How can we help these children? You know.
Now, was there a very specific moment that made you really stop and say, stop you in your tracks and make you think, oh God, I got something here?
Yeah, it's really when I saw the usage of these characters by a factor of 100x, and the average child is using the device for about 20 minutes a day, which is great. You know, like that by all standards, it's really hard to get children to focus for 20 minutes, and we've only just started with them. And I've talked to the children, I've talked to parents that are like top users. I called them up and said, "Do you mind if I have a little, Zoom call with your child and you?" And it's just amazing. Like these kids are they're just like so excited. And there was a girl the other day who was saying like, "I love to talk to my character about things that I don't talk to mommy about," and it's like my buddy. And the mom was like, "Great." And obviously, if she said something harmful, we flag it. It goes into parents have an app, so we have that. But it was really quite it just see the kids just love it. I don't know, there's something cool about that. So
I mean, one of the things you just mentioned, I mean, I love the fact that you are interacting with your clients because that shows a whole other level of responsibility as a creator of something because it's showing you have a concern for the community that's using your product and I'm sure that responds well with your community because they're like, oh, he's not just some guy who's creating something and that's it. He cares about the people using his product and wants feedback from them.
oh yeah, I mean like because I a live person I had customers with us for 20 years. To have a customer 20 years with you. Um, and I've learned, first of all, I love people. Second of all, like you can only build great products by listening to the people who use them. And the third is with this product in particular is like I'm a parent and I want to build a group of parents that want to change the world. And it's not going to be easy because children have a lot of distractions, in their lives. And look, we've had people that have returned these devices and been like, my kid doesn't want to use them. And I know what's going on there. I know what's going on. I know that they got the YouTube, they got this thing, they got Roblox, and then they're trying to throw this in the middle of it. And I sent a letter out to the parents the first day and said, look, this is about creating a connection with your kid. Like if a kid is addicted to something, like to substitute something else out is going to be hard. So just work with them. Do bedtime stories. I do bedtime stories with my children. We create our stories together. Like I'm in a story with my kid Lorenzo, and we go to Mars together. Like do these activities with your children, so the device you start to have like bring back the bond between devices, children, which has never really existed. And that's the part that's it's I need the community to be with me.
Yeah. Now you just didn't just critique the system. You built something new with Kid Company and the Kid device. What question did you keep asking yourself while creating something just for children?
It was the number one thing for me was how do we take that wonderful part of a child's imagination, which somehow we lose as we become adults, and enable them to manifest that into actual things like a picture, a story. And there's nothing I'm more like gets me more excited that even in my family still, like my 4-year-old will make some crazy image that he has in his head. It's always about a piranha and a shark and a squid, and he always loves the same three characters, but he puts them in these scenes and we laugh. We just laugh. It's like amazing that it's like boop, and then immediately it's like, oh my God, there it is. There's nothing in the world that can do that. That's the power of AI. Like he can't paint. He's a 4-year-old. He can't draw. He can't yet. Out of his imagination, he can build like these very beautiful pieces of art.
Now, is there something you intentionally chose not to include in it?
Um, I mean, there are things like we don't do movies yet. Like you can't make a movie, which I love, but that's really expensive. Um, we put games, a few games in. They're kind of edgy. There's tic-tac-toe and stuff, but what I didn't do and is really use the cheap levers of addiction. Like you can gamify everything. You
Mhm.
could put like games in there that will get the kids to play games all day. And I wanted to sort of play it out like that's it does that won't tell you much. Like if this just became a game machine with just another set of games, or I connected a YouTube video player inside here, which I could, I'm not really proving anything. Like,
No.
but I wanted to. We created something that it had a little bit of everything in it, and where we see the kids gravitate is where we'll double down. That's the characters. That's what we see in the characters.
Now, I'm going to hit you with a hard one here. How is this different from educational tech that we've always seen?
It's really quite different because first of all, I don't educate like there isn't a lot of educational tech that's really made it big because I think it needs to be entertainment, and I think it's always got to be educational in some way. But I
Hmm.
think where it differs is that I'm trying to build something that's really entertaining, engages the children. In this case, it's them being entertained by these buddies that they can have these relationships with and ask and have these conversations with. So I guess obviously there's educational aspects like a buddy could help you with your homework, a buddy could do things with you, but it's not a pure like educational device for homework or certain topics. It's got to be educational. It's got to be entertaining first for a kid, but do it in a way that's not scrolling, and
Yes,
that's a high bar, you know.
it's a very high bar because, I mean, as we talked about a while ago, people get lost in doom scrolling. I mean, even as adults, you'll see them sitting there just scrolling through videos, and they don't realize that you're lost in this loop and you can't get out.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and this we didn't like we could have easily it's a round screen. By the way, it's very different a round screen than a rectangle and your ability
Hmm.
to scroll, like we don't have scrolling. So we left out the things that naturally I could like put in there and have a higher success rate. But once again, I'm gonna get there. We're gonna get there. It's just because we're building something new. I want to create a new experience. I want to create something that is so radically new that we own it. Like we have to lead in it. I don't want to like I create chat when chat didn't exist. I've tended to pioneer products, and I didn't want to build something that exists. I like to pioneer because you get the value of that. You get a brand around it. You get loyalty from your customers. You're an innovator, and you can charge for it. Like people will pay for innovation, and that's why I'm like, let's see where it goes without the obvious things, and then from
Yeah.
there we'll bet down. And right now we're going to bet down on characters really hard. I was talking to the engineering team today, where we'll bet down on that because we see that kids just want to do more things with these characters. So
Now, as you know, the neurodivergent community experiences the world differently.
yes.
How did the awareness shape how you thought about attention, creativity, emotional safety when designing Kid?
It goes back down again to what are the relationships that this group of children need to have in their life to be supported. That's how I thought about it. You know what I'm saying? And what are the conversations you would have, like how we made these characters is so they can support these children and others. But and that's what I'm seeing in the base today is the way the characters are interacting with, or the we call them buddies, are interacting with the children. They're feeling like they're being supported. They're in a safe space. They're not being judged. All those things that it's a crapshoot at school. You arrive and you act a certain way and you're weird. You act a certain way, you speak a certain way, and you're ostracized or you're being made fun of. Like I just felt the foundation of the product should be one of connection and reinforcing that. And then obviously that you don't have to type, you don't have to like you can just talk it through as detailed as you can and create things. So it makes it very easy for any kind of child to create. So
Now, were there moments where you realized traditional tech actually overstimulated certain kids?
well, I think that's the thing, like I think the cheap hits on the doom scrolling is that's what it's all about. And so that's the thing with this device, like it's in you have to engage with it. You can't just stare at it. Like if you stare at it, it looks like that.
Yeah.
But so if I stare, it does nothing. Um, I have to engage in some real engaging activity, like talking to a character, talking about making a story, making music. I have to engage with the device. So it's very different than the overstimulus. Overstimulus is just like I'm sitting with my eyes like Clockwork Orange, and I'm like, and they're just feeding me all sorts of imagery to get that reptile brain engaged in just being a zombie.
Now, how can tech honor different nervous systems instead of fighting them?
That's a good question. I think when it comes to kid, I need more. I also just don't like to make things up. Like I want to work with these families. Like our number one user is a kid who has this genetic disposition, and actually his grandmother bought him the device, and then he's 16 years old. So he's older than our normal age group is like around, it's anywhere from 4 to 10 is where I see today. But I really, and there's other kids in the base too that have things going on and called neurodivergent behavior, and I just want to see how it plays out. It's too early, like it's only like been 2 weeks, but I'm seeing them engaging. I'm like talking to the parents, but I need like a couple more weeks to really see the impact. Like, how did it really impact this kid's life? Like, where he may have harmed himself, is he now like totally calm? Because his what he has is something extreme on the spectrum, where he will be violent, can be very hurtful to himself, be violent to himself, and just be all over the place. So I'm wondering if this is just keeping him focused. Is he, but he's putting a tremendous amount of effort into the device. I can see it.
Now, you're a pioneer in conversational AI, yet you also deeply aware of its risks. What does ethical AI for children actually mean to you?
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Like we just got COPA certified, and COPA is like the FTC standard, FTC certification for digital properties, content that is the highest of standard. Which it's pretty straightforward. Like a child can't create anything harmful, and they can't be exposed to anything harmful. And if a child is in a position to harm themselves, what do you do to get them safely landed? So, like in our system, if you're talking to a character and you start to say like, "Hey, I've been bullied," or "I'm not feeling good about something," it will quickly just take you to your parents. And if you say, "Well, I'm scared of my parents," it's going to take you to somebody at school. Just say like, "You got the chat GPTs of the world just sit there and they just keep reinforcing and talking to you about sometimes gibberish. But as a child, you don't know that, and you're getting advice from this machine. Ours is like, look, right when we hear that, it's time you got to go off ramp to a child, to an adult, and talk out what's going on because you may be in a bad position. So I think that's the stuff it's got to be able to do. You can't be exposed. You can't create something bad. And if you're having something that you're going to be communicating with the machine, it needs to off ramp you to safety.
Now, how do you balance imagination and safety, though?
I mean, they're pretty straightforward. It's like they're like there's an emotional signal, obviously through the conversation, the topic of the conversation, which like it's funny because the chat GPTs of the world, that's where we see them get it wrong. Like you can fool it into building things because you say like grandma wanted me to get a knife and show a picture of it, and they would do that. Here we just know the subject is bad and you can't create a knife. And so it's just when you build something that's purpose built for children and the models are purpose built for children, they're aware of context, they're aware of like what is the emotion going on in that conversation, and then you can decide what to offer it, but versus doing a creative act.
Right. Now, what do you think adults misunderstood most about AI and kids?
Um, I mean, the big one right now, as we see, is that because of all the bad press that's going on, especially around the characters and stuff like that, I think parents are rightfully afraid of technology. We had a couple of returns. These were obviously gifts where people returned it and said, like, didn't even open the box. They're like, no internet in our house. And it tells me something. Like we are, yes, physically connected. The machine gets connected to the internet to a set of servers that we control that are geared towards the content that we talked about. But we're not giving like open internet access on our device. But parents don't even want to open a box that they think has some connectivity to the outside world. So I just think the parents are so afraid because of all the horrible things that are happening to our children. They don't want to bring another thing into the world. And I get it. Yeah.
Now, so much of childhood creativity comes from boredom, something tech often eliminates. How did you design something that protects imagination instead of replacing it?
Well, the kid means keep it dreaming, and so the foundation of the product is all about allowing children to be their best creators and to always kind of like the number one. There's like if I look at the hierarchy of the needs of the product, the number one is safety and security, and the number two is be your best creator, right? And number three is the community, which we haven't really evolved yet. It'll start. You have to have a community to build a community.
Yeah.
But the third one is like, how do we bring children together? How do we bring parents together through the device? Like the device becomes a way for community to be created, and that's kind of the next part of it. We obviously have the safety part, and then now the creator part is there, but now we're looking at how to organize the creative aspects to make it easier for children to even create, which is where the buddies will play a greater role. Like you can create an image through the buddies. You're going to be able to create things through the buddies. So,
Now, what role does open-ended play still need to have?
you mean non-device play
Yeah.
off device? Yeah, I mean it's like the device is just a part of I think an experience in a child's life, but there's nothing that beats the human connection, and obviously if the device can enhance the human connection, which I'd like it to do, like kids can come together and play games and it's helping them do that and learn how to interact. Look, even as an adult, like going back to the one of the reasons I didn't like running the company anymore, my last company, is that I remember being in a diversity we had a diversity council and they had a meeting and I was in the meeting, and this is like at the tail end of COVID where people could come back to the office, and we were talking about all the things we want to do to have diversity and so forth and so on. And I said the biggest thing I know that can help with all this is that people are engaged physically with each other, just like children. Because I said the hardest thing you can do is physically be present with somebody that you have a bias on, and engage with them, and then connect with them, and then realize, wow, they're not too different from me. As a matter of fact, they're pretty fabulous. And when you're doing that over video, it just doesn't happen. I look at you, you look at me, maybe there's something the way you look or you're some whatever, and I just make a judgment. I don't have to deal with it. I just shut my laptop off and I go back into my safe space.
Mhm.
That's what I have. Like in our world of our homes is pretty much the safest space usually, unless we've got issues at home. But like we architect a safe space. It's good to be in like uncharted territory with humans. So kids coming together also physically, they have to deal with the personalities. Like my kids come and they complain, and it's kind of what my parents said, like just deal with it. Like you got to learn to deal with people. Welcome to the world, you know?
Now, I mean, the question comes up is how do we keep kids curious instead of constantly entertaining them?
I think, like I go back to like children have the most amazing imaginations. They're just unfortunately being directed into these tools, these digital tools, which are really, hurting, not helping them. When I was a kid, and like all kids are like, as you know, all children are equal when it comes to imagination. Like kids are just kids. But depending on where they end up and what's in front of them is depending on how far they go with their imaginations. When I was a child, like I had so many things I played with, and there's so many things we had a neighborhood of other children. It was, like middle class, family in America, and we were doing things, and we were able to we made up games, because we were bored. Now when kids are bored, it's like I don't have a device. I'm bored, give me a device. I'm bored, give me a device. Not on board, let me go outside and play. Not on board, let me make a new game up. Not on board. And children have to get to that place. They can't be on devices, not even our device.
I mean, that's so true. I mean, COVID really did a lot about decentralizing the kids and taking them away from socialization. And then you throw them back into school, and it's just like this whole shock therapy of, oh my God, now I have to socialize all over again.
But it's not just children. I mean, I have friends that are therapists, and there's more. anger and road rage, and everyone tells me the same thing and it like I'm amazed that like I have a small group of people in both companies, like under 20 people, and I'm amazed we still interview people for jobs and who may live like literally 15 minutes away, and they want to have a flexible work environment where they don't have to come in the office. And I ask myself, like, what's that about? Like, why wouldn't you want to come in and like what is it that you don't like? And it's not like 15 minutes is a convenience of travel. So it's really about you don't want to engage with people. Like you just don't want to deal with it. I get it. You don't want to deal with people, you know? It's hard.
Yeah,
It's
it
hard to
is.
look somebody in the eye, you know.
Now, many parents feel torn. Technology feels unavoidable, but also scary. What do you wish parents heard more clearly right now?
That AI is a power to unleash a child's best creative forces. And I think, regardless if you bought our device or you just want to try winging it on your own, I think if as a parent, if you can get first principles on it and start working with it, you could bring it into your children's life in a way that you control. You wouldn't let them like just play around with ChatGPT, but you could work with them on it. And I just think technology is a great way, especially now that everything's new on the AI side. It's a great way to bond a parent and a child. Like work with your kids on this stuff. Like it can be fun, it can be interesting, but it creates a relationship between you and them using technology. There's like a black and white sort of view of technology right now. It's either bad or good, or bad and not caring enough. But there's a lot more inside that to unpack if you really spend time with your children and you spend time with the platforms.
Now, how can families shift from fair into intention?
From what? From fair?
From fair to intention.
In what context? In what context?
In fear of technology to intent on using technology, like using your device.
Yes. I go back to it. I just think it's the most important thing is parents themselves have to get in the game, and you have to use the technology first and get comfortable with it and start building things with it, and then you can hand it to your children in a safe way. And whether you're using once again our device, which is made for that, I just think as parents you got to get in the game. Like it's a very powerful technology, but you got to get in the game and use it. So you can't wait for someone to train your kids on this stuff. It's not, you can be the first one in. Plus, it makes you cool. Your kids will think you're cool. So,
Now, what's the one small mindset change that makes a big difference
in general, or
in
just in,
general and in use of everything?
I like what I've learned in this is many years ago. The human brain has a tremendous amount of bias in it because it turns out I was working with this neurosurgeon guy when I got heavy into AI in 2018, and Bo Leto's his name. And Bo, I was like, why do we have prejudice? Why do we have these things, these biases? Why do we see the world a certain way, especially related to others that don't look like us or whatever? And he said it's really funny. The human brain burns a certain amount of calories every day. And humans, because we're trying to reduce calorie burn, bias is the best way to reduce it. So if I see someone across the street and they're a different color than I am, and I automatically feel like I'm threatened by them for whatever reason, to the small changes to realize you're trying to be calorie efficient, and your unconscious bias is just that. It's you may not even had an experience with this person, but your brain is trying to just basically very quickly not have to spend time and calories analyzing the situation. And the easiest thing to do is just make a snap judgment and move on. And I think in situations where you're uncomfortable or you have this situation, it's best to burn some calories, you know, get engaged. So,
Now you've built tools for massive businesses and now you're building for children. What has this journey taught you about impact versus scale?
Yeah, it's this is kind of where I am today. Like, um, it's like one child at a time. Like I've been on calls with these kids, and obviously I'm surrounded by kids, but and my kids is friends and stuff. But um, when you talk to a parent and they're there with the child, and like I like whatever happens, like I'm so proud of the fact that there are children and parents that are using this today, and this was just an idea a little bit a year ago, and they're finding it enjoyable. Like they're finding it with some value, and I think once again it's like one child, one family at a time. One child, one family at a time. We will build this thing, you know. It's and then eventually you get scale. But when you're at the beginning of building a company, your first customers mean everything to you. So
Yes.
whether they're paying this was $300 one time or they're paying $300,000 one time or whatever. Like when I was at Live Person, it was $3 million. It didn't matter. It was like every customer matters if they're gonna help you build the company. So
Now, how does this work feel different in your body?
um, that's interesting. I never had that question before. Uh, I guess it's a much more it's a building companies is hard. Like I don't care who says it. I have experience in doing it. It's always the same thing. It takes a lot of energy. But what makes you feel light versus heavy
Hmm.
is when you think you're really impacting the world in a positive way. And probably people say that, but I really look. I built a product that's impacting a child's life in a positive way and bringing AI safely to the home of parents and families. Like check the box. I was trying to get something in the world that's not just a B2B product selling to an enterprise customer, but like could impact a family's life. And not only that, I told my team I was up at 3 a.m. in the morning on Christmas Day with my team we call it the war room as kids and families were opening that box. And we were there at Christmas and that bar is high. Like Christmas morning, opened our problem. We saw the first one gets lit up. The second one, somebody had an issue. They came into contact center. We get them on a call as a team, work through it, make sure. Because I said no child is going to be left behind on Christmas with our product. They're not going to open up that thing and like it doesn't work, you know. And we know it's like a new piece of tech, so who knows? But I want
That,
to make sure that we were there, and it's cool to be. We were at Christmas. We were in Christmas. That's cool.
that's gotta be a cool feeling of sitting in your work and watching the servers light up as the first unit turns on.
Yeah.
And then watching, and then the second, and then the third, and you're like, oh my God.
And then you see like the usage happening and you're like, wow, they're
Yeah.
actually using it. I can't believe it. And yeah, so it was really interesting to see it. And then you see kids that are like really using it. Then I'm like, I text the mom or dad. I'm like, hey, do you mind if we talk? And I'm like, great. And then they're like excited and all of that. And like I said, some parents would text me back like, this is awesome that you're trying to even reach out to me. They're so used to like the world is so the low
Oh.
has it has such a yeah, it has such a low bar, the world. Like people just throw products, companies throw products at people and then they
Mhm.
walk away. They don't even care. Like I'm in the game with them. Like I want to talk to if I could, I wish I could get all these customers in a room right now and we could talk through everything we need to make it work because it's working. Look, it's working for a good group. It somehow is not working for everybody, and I'm trying to figure out why. Like I need to understand that. So like everyone seems to have their own needs. There's stuff. So I'm trying to understand. There's a bunch of power users. There's a bunch of middle users. There's some that are using it a little bit. And there's some that's not using it. Some haven't even gone live yet because it's been the holidays. So they're still waiting to go live. You know,
Now, the million-dollar question. How do your kids see you now compared to before?
that's a good question. My kids. I don't know if they see me any different. I mean, I think they know I'm more excited about stuff and they know I'm building something for them. I built something really for them. They're the first customers, the first clients, and they're tough cookies. And but I think, for my children, they've just been on this journey of, going from this one thing that we had that was very certain and had a lot of, legacy to it, to something new, and all the challenges with that and the excitement with it. So I think, my kids they have the benefit of being involved with this transition in my life, which I didn't expect, but it came to me, and I took advantage of it and said, "Let's go, let's take the ride."
Right. Now, let's say we're having this conversation 10 years from today. What would you hope kids say about their relationship with technology?
I, geez, I just would love that the kid, our device, and is like one of the major forces that drove this relationship with AI that was really positive, because we're living in a world where there's a lot of uncertainty about that. And I just would love to know that 10 years from now we were really impactful, and the brand lived. Like, the brand of kid could even become an adult brand where, adults can be their best creators and all of that, and in a way that can support them and create community. I mean, the vision I had in my head before I even started the company, when I started thinking about it, was like, I have this vision in my head that's like thousands of parents gathered somewhere outside, and we're celebrating on stage children and their creations. Like, this child made this movie. Like, one day on Kid, they're gonna be able to make full movies. The children can make a whole movie. Think of that. And like, they're showing off a film that's as good as Steven Spielberg can do. And it's like, this is what I see. I see parents celebrating the children's ability to create using this technology, and we've come together as a community. And all that YouTube and all that junk is kind of in our past. It was like the dark times, and now we've got the creative times, and how tech's like making our kids be the best creators in the world. And some of these kids, I'll tell you, like the new Walt Disney, which I really would like to be, is that like the kids are the animators, the kids are the creators, the kids are the content creators. And then they're creating characters right now, and let's take those characters and show them to other kids and let other kids experience that. So that's the kind of stuff that I see.
No, what would healthy look like for you or to you
Just in general,
in general?
I think healthy would be, having a good mix of time with my family and time building the businesses. And today I'm pretty much very focused on my businesses, although I've incorporated my family into the businesses. You know, it's optimal when you spend a lot of time. Plus, I got young kids. You want to spend
Right.
time with them when they're this age. So
And what gives you the most hope right now?
my children, my kids are like, I go back to it, like the most hope you get is from your kids and their ability to, like when kids are their best, there's nothing more hopeful when you see children like when my daughter, like there's moments we all have this where your children are being their best. And I remember like one thing, like was that the year before we were in Italy, and my wife's family's from there, so we go back, and there was this kind of high cliff off
Mhm.
of, and you jump into the water, and like my daughter and I, like you go to, there's like three different, you keep going up, like one is like 1 meter jump, 2 meter jump, next one's like a 3 4 meter jump, and the top one was like a 10 meter jump. It was like, it was like, so we did the small, then we went to the big one, and I remember my daughter looks at me and she goes, Daddy, you've always told me take a risk, and she just jumped off the.
Ah,
And
good for her.
I went and walked up, and I looked down and I go, I don't think I can do this. So I ended up walking back down, which I never would do. Like, she usually follows me. I love to do these things. For some reason, I had in my mind, like, I could hit that rock. I got kids. I don't know. Oh my, hold on.
Overthinking it.
I was overthinking it. And my daughter's like, and I just, at that very moment, that's what, like that's a kid. Like, she just like looked at me like, Dad, you always told me, no risk, no reward. And
Hmm.
she just, I didn't even tell her to go. She just went off. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, so I think, kids have this thing inside of them when they show it. You have a lot of hope that, they're the future. We're not, they're the future.
Now, if a neurodivergent kid is listening right now, one who feels overwhelmed by the digital world, what would you want them to know right now?
I mean, obviously I'm going to be centered around like there's a different world for you guys, and I think it starts with finding. By the way, you can even try building your own
Hmm.
characters that will support you. Like you can build buddies. We make it easy because you just talk it out, but you can build buddies that can be your buddy, and then you're focused with them. You're working with them. They'll do things with you. That's kind of what I see as so. I know if you're overwhelmed and it's just so much stimulus, it's just puts you on the other side. Maybe gravitate towards a different world where you can have this buddy, this friend that can support you, and that's what I think can help these children.
And finally, where can people learn more about you and Kid?
Yeah, if you go to kidco.ai, you can check us out there. We're for sale. We've been selling now for about 6 or 7 weeks. Um, you can learn about everything there. When you join, there's a Facebook group you can be part of as a parent, so we all can share and help each other. So this is kind of I think a good start. And then once you join, like I'll connect with you because I connect with everybody, and we can do this together. As families, as parents, as kids, we can do this together.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Reed Miles. That was Robert Locasco. And
Thanks,
I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, Robert.
thanks, Reed. Thank you very much.